I work with organizations, very first thing I tell them is, hey, if you can't put a sign on your door that says "F off, I'm flowing," you're screwed. Because what the research shows is that flow requires 90 to 120 minutes of uninterrupted space for concentration. And Tim Ferriss, he argues that, and I think he's right on this, that if you're doing something really hard and creative, 90 to 120 minutes is sort of what you need daily. And then a couple times a week, you're going to need 4 or 5 hours of block, right? Exactly. And I think those are very true, but if you work for an organization that makes you respond to messages in 15 minutes or email in an hour, or you tend to do that kind of stuff, it's a disaster. And
exactly.
I get up at 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning every day to start writing. And one of the reasons I do it is the phone doesn't ring. My phones are turned off. My email's turned off. There's no social media. You know what I mean? It's pitch black. The only thing I see is the computer screen. And even there, I use focus view. So I literally only see the page I'm working on. There's nothing else in my universe. Right. And, sometimes I'll darken all the windows so I don't have to see the sun come. You know what I mean? So I don't know. So I can stay in that space a little bit longer.
People love to claim that they can multitask really well, or they love to claim that it's just a little notification that pops up. And, I'm not actually going to reply to the message. I'd just like to know there's no emergencies. So they have these little notifications that pop up on their screen, the emails, the whatever. And I've found, and I'm pretty confident you found as well, that I cannot get into flow, even if I'm not engaging with those messages, just having them pop into my field of view. It's too tempting. And then you go hours and hours trying to write, breaking your concentration every 10 minutes,
There's 3 things on that one. One, we know, we don't know on everybody, I guess, but we know from studies done on coders, and maybe it varies career to career, but with coders, when they get knocked out of flow, it takes them about 15 minutes to get back in on average. Mm-hmm. So if you're in flow and one of those messages pops up and it's enough to knock you out, and I'll talk about why that would happen in half a second, you've just cost yourself. Think about it this way. If you're 500% more productive in flow and you have a 3-hour work window to get something done, think about how much work that 15-minute knockout just cost you. That's insane.
For one non-critical message.
Let me put it a different way. So the biggest thing, you mentioned it, so anxiety, which is essentially norepinephrine, is a really funny drug, right? A little bit of it, it's a great focusing drug. It's fantastic. It feels like excitement, drives performance, drives curiosity. It's great. Too much of it, total anxiety. The problem is that the higher up that scale you move, while your ability to focus may increase, your ability to be creative decreases. And the reason why is norepinephrine sort of shuts down the ability for the pattern recognition system to make far-flung connections between ideas. The more fear in the system, the more familiar your thoughts are going to be. And, the extreme version of this is fight or flight, right? Where you are faced with extreme fear and you've got 2 options, right? So, and this is neurobiological. And so if one of those little messages pops up and it's got some little bit of emotional tag for you, right? Like it's something that there's emotions involved, whatever, that could produce norepinephrine and knock you out of the sweet spot, and suddenly you're not getting back into flow at all. And more importantly, because we're all so unbelievably crunched for time and we feel time pressure all the time, you may not be paying attention to those alerts, but your brain is going, oh yeah, I got to respond to that. Oh yeah, I got to respond to that. Oh yeah, I got to respond to that. And it's doing 2 things. One, it's trying to save energy for later when you have to respond to those things. And 2, it's making you more anxious. So you're saving energy. So suddenly you have less energy going into what you're doing right now. And you've put more anxiety into the system. So you're no longer in the sweet spot for flow. And you've knocked yourself out of the state for about 15 minutes minimum. High consequences. And this is my buddy Clifford Ness's work at Stanford. Nobody multitasks. It's absolute bullshit.
Right.
Your brain is not built. It's a serial processing machine. It can process in parallel on a lot of levels, but when you're talking about conscious attention, it's a serial processing machine. And there's no such thing as multitasking. And a study after study, right, shows and the performance declines for people who try are ridiculous. I saw something this morning and I wish I could figure out what I was looking at because I would cite this study, but they were talking about people trying to multitask by writing email and maybe taking notes on a lecture at the same time, I want to say. And they measured something like a 10,000% decrease in performance. Like, it was some stratospheric number that I was like, well, how the hell did you even measure that? Like, what is that? That doesn't even make any sense. So I don't know if it makes any sense, but or I don't know if that research, bears out, because I didn't take a deeper look at it, admittedly. But it's interesting that we're finding the decline is huge across the board.
This is so motivating, because this week I finally put a line in the sand. I already do, by the way, maker manager days. I'm theoretically supposed to have 2 days a week where I'm just not available, period. I don't do emails. I don't do chats, like nothing. And even in those days, I have little things creeping into my time and popping up. And I took a stand finally this week and decided that, if I want to write and I want to create and I want to actually get shit done, then I have to go full with it and completely close everything except for, that does provide a little bit of anxiety, because it's like, what's going on in the company? Servers could be crashing, worlds could be burning, and I have no idea. But I've had 2 of the most productive days ever since making that decision.
Yeah, it's funny. When I think about my career and I think about this stuff that, what did it take to write, 7 bestsellers and get 2 Pulitzer Prize nominations, right? Like, was there secret kung fu in there, and the flow stuff helped a lot and blah, blah. But honest to God, I think it's that I just kept saying no. Anytime somebody offered me a job where I would lose control of my schedule and at any level, the answer was always no. I never became an editor because it would take time. I could have given up book writing and had a career in advertising, but I'm not giving up. You know what I mean? I just said no. I protected my schedule as fiercely as I protected anything in my life.
If what you've heard on Flow Research Collective Radio has been helpful, please consider doing us a solid and leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening to this. Reviews help us connect to a wider audience so we can get these peak performance principles out to more people.